Hi and welcome back to David Tom Creation's channel. Today I am doing the next video in the machine learning series, and this is going to be about patterns, how to create patterns. The next one will be how to build up the scenes using those patterns. So to save a bit of time, I'm not doing this from scratch because I'm trying to keep these videos to around about 10-12 minutes. So what I've actually done is I'm using the Neon Drive expansion, and I'm using the new kit, which sounds like that. So that's the one that I'm using. So in pad mode, we have got kick, snare, closed, open hat, clap, and there's another kick there, which I've got muted. There's crash, there's a couple of vocals, and there's a bass beat, and there's some chords. So it's quite a good mix of instruments and sounds. Creating patterns is pretty straightforward. You can hit the pattern button, and like I said, if you look in the software, you can see that I've used pattern groups A, B, and C. So in group A, I've got 4 patterns, and I've called this intro. This is the scene name, so this is the first scene in this project. Pattern 1 is a kick, and you can see I've got 2 instruments. I've actually muted this because I've got an alternative kick, so I've just muted that, so that's kind of grayed out. But if I didn't want it, I can just delete that. So if you don't want that, just delete that. So I've got a kick and a closed hi-hat, and then so I've just called that kick, and it's a good idea to get into naming your patterns because it becomes more relevant later on when you're creating songs from your scenes. So I've got beat 1, and you can see I've got extra stuff. I've got snap, I've got the open hi-hat, and then I've got another beat which I've called beat crash, and obviously that's got crash coming in, and then last one is just a hi-hat and a clap. So that's the kind of drum kind of section in group A, and if I wanted to create a new pattern, so there's 2 ways of doing that. Duplicate, so if I go to pattern 4, which is the hi-hat, so I can either duplicate that and get a copy, and it would say hi-hat 1 in brackets, and if I duplicated it again, it would be 2, whatever. So normally it would come up pattern 1, 2, 3, 4 if you create a new pattern, but if you duplicate, you'll get a in brackets, so it's pattern 1, so you would know that it's based on that pattern rather than a new one. So if you want a brand new pattern, you just hit create, and it says pattern 1. So for instance, like I said, that is the hi-hat duplication. So for instance, you could just either take out, say, you could delete something like the clap and the click, and just purely have a hi-hat, which would sound like that, which is barely audible. That's better. Very quiet. So yeah. So that is a quick way of creating duplicates and just adding in or deleting things to make a new pattern. Or like I said, you can create one from scratch. So there's 2 ways of doing that. So either you can record in playing the pads or the keyboard, depending on what you wanted to actually play. So if you wanted to play, for instance, if we picked the chord, you go keyboard, put it onto major, and then you could just play that in, or you can go to step mode, and then so we'll hit something else. So we'll go to say the snare, So we'll hit snare, we'll go to step mode, and then we could have a couple of snares in. So you don't actually have to press record or anything, you just put them in and that's it. And then you can just muck about, you can take them out, put them back in, whichever you want. So it's a really quick way actually. I mean, for drums I would tend to use the step mode, and then I record in stuff like the bass and you know, the chords or whatever, the synth sounds, whatever. So that's step recording. Like I said, the thing is obviously you have to select the instrument first. So if you wanted to say kick 2, you select that, go to step mode, and then just press play. And then that's it. So very easy to do. And the other thing that you can do, so if we go back to sound 4 is the open hi-hat. Right, so we can solo that. I'll just bump it up a bit. Right, so there's another thing you can do. So I've done that with step mode. You can see there's the steps there. So if you want to kind of make that a bit more humanized, you click variation, and then you either have a random or a humanize way of, so you can hit random or humanize up there. So what you can do is you can time shift in percentages. So I normally use 5%, so it goes up in 5% increments. So you can time shift there, and you can change the velocity from, and that's the low and the high. So we can turn that down off. So that's full velocity, 127. So we could maybe keep that down at, let's say, maybe 120, and then take this down to 70, and then apply. And what's that? And as you can see on the grid, it's changed the velocity. Yeah, so if you go back to this, you can see on the screen, it's actually easier to see on this screen than it is. So you can see it's changed the velocity and also put some of the notes off the grid. So if we play that, so you can see it's got more of a swing to it. So that's a cool trick, and you can apply that to you know, pretty much anything. Basses is another good one. Anything you want, kicks, snares, just and like I said, you can adjust the amount of time shifting. Normally 5 to 10% is enough to get a kind of quite a nice kind of variation. So that is, and I'll just save that. So if you want to save project, you just shift and file save, and that's it, done. So we go back to patterns. So we'll keep that one as that. So this new pattern, we can just delete that, and we'll keep the hi-hat on its own, because we could always start off with just that. In fact, just put a wee bit more. So I will. So I'll run through the patterns that I've got in Group A, and just to let you to hear how you can build that up. So let's say we could start with just this. So you can either do this from the pad. I mean, I quite like doing it from the pads. So you can go to Arranger and you can see your patterns there. And then if I hit pattern, I can switch them off and on using the pads. So that's, or you can switch them off and on using these controls. So I think sometimes the easiest way to do it is just using the pads, especially if you've named them. So so like I said, we could start off with the pattern 5, as it were, and then so that's the kick and the close hi-hat. That's beat 1. So So that's beat with the crash and no kick. And that's the closed hat, the click and the clap. Right, so I'm going to play through some of the patterns that I've recorded and just show you kind of how you can kind of switch them off and on, and just kind of get an idea playing around with the kind of stuff that you've recorded. So if we start off with bank A pattern 5, which is just a hi-hat, and if we go to bank B, and we could bring in the bass. So the bass and the chords are on 4 bars. So if you kind of see in the software, so you can see bank A is on 1 bar, and bank B is on 4 bars, and bank C is on 4 bars. So we could go to bank A and then bring in the kick. Bank B and bring in the sweep. And go to bank C and bring in the first chord. And then you can just play around with it like that. And there you go. So that's all been done with one kit, basically. And that's just the first scene. So in the next video, I'm going to show you how to create more scenes, so we can create things like the verse, chorus, verse 2, whatever. So that's it for this machine learning video. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.